everyone, I'm here today with a bullet journal video. I didn't think I would be doing another bullet journal video for a while because I haven't decided when I'm going to be starting the Science of Wellbeing course, but I had this inspiration the other day. I knew the full moon was coming up. It's also the Chinese Mid-Autumn Festival, so if you celebrate that, then happy Mid-Autumn Festival to you. This was actually just yesterday, and as I was finishing up dinner and eating my mooncake, I was trying to think about what I wanted to do in the evening. And I was really drawn to creating some sort of full moon and new moon ritual that I could do every time we have a full moon or a new moon. So I thought, let me experiment a little bit with that, and this video is going to be all about that. What I did was I essentially created a full moon ceremony or ritual, and I did a spread in my bullet journal. It was very interesting and lovely. It got me really motivated and excited for the next 2 weeks until we get to the new moon. So this was kind of a 2-week celebration, but also looking ahead a little bit and seeing what I want to accomplish over the next 2 weeks to take me into the new moon planning, which is going to be October 16th. If that intro resonates with you at all, then please keep watching. As part of the full moon and new moon ceremonies, I plan to pull a tarot card. So on this particular full moon, which was the Aries full moon, I very interestingly pulled the Emperor card in reverse. I don't know that much about tarot because I haven't been into it since high school, which was over 20 years ago, but it's something I've been meaning to delve back into, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to integrate it into a bi-weekly practice or a practice every 2 weeks. So the Emperor card symbolizes fire, Mars, and Aries, which was super interesting because I pulled it on an Aries full moon. Initially, when I pulled the card, I was a little bit confused. It didn't really resonate, but as I learned more about it, the connection with the Aries full moon, and just the meaning behind the card, it started to make more sense to me. I pulled it in reverse, which was also interesting, and I'm going to talk about that first since I am drawing the card right now. I flipped my journal upside down because even though I had penciled everything in beforehand, I knew I wouldn't be able to fill in the pencil marks upside down. I just was much more comfortable drawing this right side up. So right now I'm just filling everything in, and I'm going to be coloring it as well. This took a very long time, both drawing the card initially in pencil, going over it in this like fine liner, and then also coloring it. So I don't know if I'm gonna do this every single moon ceremony that I do, but I do plan to pull a tarot card. I just may not draw it. So the Emperor, as I've learned in reverse, represents benevolence, compassion, confusion to enemies, obstruction, and immaturity. That was the gist of the description that came with the tarot cards. I also Googled it and looked up various meanings, and one website really resonated with me. In reverse, this card asks you to identify what feels unstable in your life right now. And often this instability will result from procrastination on a pressing matter that requires some sort of confrontation. The website goes on to say that this procrastination or avoiding of conflict, it leads to a sense of inner conflict and anxiety. On the other hand, confronting these issues will revitalize you and restore your sense of inner order, control, and self-confidence. So it tells you to step into your majesty. Stop thinking you can't do this, take charge, and create the stability you want to see in your life. The Emperor is the archetype of proactivity, and your self-esteem soars when you summon up your courage. So I found that super interesting, especially during this Aries full moon, which is a very unstable time apparently because it's linked to the unstable Uranus through unstable aspects. The major theme for this full moon is the release of tension. I've read in multiple different websites, blog posts, and I've watched 1 or 2 YouTube videos that talk about this major theme of release, and I will put links to everything down below, all of the resources that I referenced when filling in my bullet journal and doing this ceremony as a whole and learning about what's happening in this time. So I found that just super fascinating. It says that this moon is influenced by Mars retrograde square Saturn. I don't know what that means because I'm very new to astrology, but when I read about it further, it describes this time as a whole bunch of frustration and anger that have been building for at least a month. It says that in this full moon, you need to be aware of bad judgment, quick temper, and a tendency to act impulsively and lash out. It says that tension is better released and released more safely through flexibility and adaptation. So that is the gist of the Aries full moon and the Emperor card in reverse that I pulled. Now we're going to move on to the actual full moon planning, and this was the October 1st, 2020 full moon, and it also happened to be the Chinese Mid-Autumn Festival. I ended up drawing 4 quadrants, the first one being celebration. So this was the night of the full moon. I wanted to celebrate my progress in the past couple of weeks. I worked on my book a ton. I have the outline done now, and I'm just kind of trying to roughly write the chapters and do a little bit of research, add some links of stuff that I want to look into more deeply when I get into the bulk of the writing. So that was so wonderful to have that done, and I really wanted to celebrate this whole process of creative exploration that I've been on. I'm really proud of myself that I've been able to try so many different things and explore so many different ways of expressing myself. It's really filling me up. The second quadrant is emotion. This is going to be the period of time between the full moon and the third quarter moon. So this is the stretch of time between October 2nd and 9th. Already leading up to the full moon, I felt very emotional. I had extremely intense emotions, and this all stemmed from external factors. I feel really good with where I am right now internally, but externally I have a lot of concerns and worries just about the world at large and all of the things that are going on this year with the pandemic, with politics, general divisiveness. It's just been weighing on my mind and on my heart a lot, and I've been up and down because of that. I think I've been very irritable when I really don't have any cause to be irritable within my like immediate life. I feel very good in my own skin. I feel very good at home in the condo with hubby and with our pets. I really feel that this anxiety, this irritability, this disconcertedness is coming from just the general feeling of the world right now. So during the time of the waning gibbous, when the full moon is transitioning to the third quarter moon, I'm going to expect this heightened emotional state to continue. Then we reach the third quarter moon, which will happen on October 10th. Now, this full moon is all about release, but the way I understand it, the third quarter moon is all about readjusting, forgiving, and letting go. What I'm going to work on during the third quarter moon and the time around October 10th is just continue to let go of expectations and attachment to outcomes. I also want to let go a little bit of my fixation on keeping data and rigid plans. I am a hoarder of data, and very recently, actually on the night of the full moon, I had to release that. My husband and I decided to switch iPhones, and I never back up my iPhone, so I ended up losing pretty much everything. The data and the apps were still intact for the most part, but because I hadn't backed up my Way of Life app, that's my habit tracker, I lost all of that. I reflected on how I felt to lose all of that data, and it didn't feel good, but I was able to let it go. I didn't lash out in any way. I did feel a lot of anxiety, but now that it's gone, I've made peace with it, and I'd like to continue to do that. Just continue to let go of stuff that I used to be really rigid about. I would also like to let go of just generally anything that doesn't resonate with me anymore. After the third quarter moon, we're starting to transition back to the new moon, and this is where we experience the waning crescent moon. This is the time between October 11th and October 15th. So this is a time for deep reflection. It just so happens that I'm going to be embarking on an inner field trip with Lisa Renee Hall during this time, so I will be reflecting through video prompts and stream of consciousness journaling, reflective exercises. I'm super excited about this, but I also know it's going to be a really intense emotional time because the inner field trip is all about exploring your inner biases. So I want to prioritize my self-care during this time and just make sure that I have time to rest and restore leading up to the new moon. The next new moon is going to happen on October the 16th, and I plan to go through this entire moon ceremony again at that time. So that was it for my very first full moon ceremony. It was actually a lot of fun, very interesting. I feel like I learned a little bit about myself and how I'm feeling in the midst of what's happening in the world, and it's starting to make a little bit more sense to me. That is going to be it for my first full moon in my bullet journal series. I actually don't know if this is going to be a series, but I do plan to do full moon spreads and new moon spreads for the rest of the year. Not counting this full moon spread that I just shared with you, there are 6 more new moons and full moons, so that will happen in pretty much bi-weekly videos if I decide to keep up with them. Let me know if you do any planning around the moon phases. This is something I'm just getting into now, and I just find it very, very fascinating. I'm really eager to see if I jive with this rhythm of planning and reflecting. If you do any rituals or ceremonies around planning, please let me know in the comment section down below. I do plan to add to this going forward. Maybe I'll start lighting candles or being a bit more intentional with my space and carve out a specific time block to do this. But again, I'm just right in the beginning and I'm experimenting as I go along. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I will be back very soon with another one. Until then, please take care and bye for now.